Auspicious greetings. It's good to see everyone. Today we have Keys to Living Well, the first class of Guang Hub for spring 2023. So it's good to see everyone here joining me both online as well as in person. So let us get started. Let me share my screen. Okay. So So before we start, let us just do a short meditation. And I'll give ourselves a moment of silence, putting our thoughts together. Just be present with every breath that we take. Let's gently rub our palms together. Cover our palms on our eyes, top of our head, over our ears, the back of our neck. Gently rub our palms together. Gently massage our shoulders, arms, all the way to our fingers and wrists. Okay. So thank you again for joining me for the spring term for Keys to Living Well. So in this year, where I'm going to share with everyone this book, Keys to Living Well, we actually have two different versions or edition. One is with a book cover like this, and the other one is this, but the contents are the same. So in the syllabus that I shared with you, I indicated version 1 and 2. The contents are the same, no worries, but it's just because we ran out of copies, so that's why we make new copies. So that's why the pages inside is slightly different, but I indicated in the syllabus so that everyone can be on the same page, even though we're on different pages. Okay. So looking at the preface written by Dr. Lancaster, he kind of like sum up the whole contents of this book. And Verbal Master, he always emphasized on the importance of the daily application of the Buddha's teachings. So even though humanistic Buddhism, this term, it might be new to someone, but it's just a re-emphasis of how important it is for us to learn the Buddha's teachings, not just in a book, but we just have to contemplate constantly, how is it relevant to our life? How are we going to face with whatever that we have to cope with in our family, in our workplace, in the society, within the whole community, okay? So Verbal Master, he shared with new thoughts of his insights about how to plan and live with all the pressures in the modern world, okay, in modern life. And in this book, every article is pretty short, like 2 to 3 pages. And then every topic, Verbal Master always give 4 points, 4 key points. It's easy for us to remember. So for example, like today, we're going to talk about from a day to a lifetime. We're talking about planning. So Verbal Master also listed out 4 points of how we're going to do it. Yeah. So with the understanding of ourselves, the situation, and the nature of thoughts and action, only then we can change the energy of our old habits and lead us to transformation of the mind and the thoughts. Okay, we'll always start from ourselves, even though, and in many occasions when things are not going as according to what we plan, what would be our usual reaction? We might say that, oh, it's because of this, because of that. It's always not our problem, but it is actually coming from outside, from within ourselves. So that's the reason why it's very important for us to examine and also do reflection every day. We'll start from ourselves and how we continue on in getting to know the situation that we are in and what are we facing and what are the things that we need to take care of. Right? So from the moment that we wake up every single day until the last conscious moment before we go to bed, go to sleep. Okay. The master also shared concrete advices on how to focus our thoughts and also avoid confusion of the mind that is scattered among many matters that compete for our attention. So in many occasions, we thought that we are being distracted by something. It could be a sight, it could be a sound, it could be a smell, it could be a sensation, it could be anything. But the distraction is actually attracting our attention. So the distinction between distraction and attraction, they are the same. They are diverting our attention, what we are focusing on. Okay, but we always start from being aware of the present. Okay, so before I continue on in sharing the key topic for today, let me share with you the whole format of the class. So every time when we get together, the time is in Pacific time. For those of you who are not not within the Pacific time area, this is you need to click on the link where the time conversion so that you know that what is your local time. But in general,
we're not doing to record that because the network doesn't seem to be very stable there.
Okay. I think this is, yeah, okay, yeah. So basically when we get together, I know like it's always excited, you know, to catch up a little bit. It's okay, you can get to know each other. But when we start a class, we will always start with a 5-minute silent meditation to keep ourselves grounded from whatever that we haven't finished to be present, okay? And then between 2:05 until like 2:50, about like 40 to 45 minutes time, I'll be doing some sharing. But in the middle, if any one of you have any questions, you can write it down on the chat box. And for those of you in person, maybe you can put a side note. And then we have a computer here. That would be the hot seat. You can go over there and ask questions so that those of us joining me online, they can also hear the question that you would like or anything that you would like to share. Okay. And then we have like last 10 minutes a Q&A, and then we will end our class with dedication of merit. Okay, so as part of the introduction to what I would like to share with everyone, how we can plan from a day to a lifetime. Okay, I know that many of you are very good planner, but I'm going to share with you from the Buddhist perspective of how Verbal Master has listed out 4 key points in terms of how we are going to incorporate in our planning in our everyday life within ourselves, family, workplace, and including our whole lifetime. Okay. So we all start our life with a breath. Okay. Could be a cry, baby crying. But basically that is the moment that we take in our first breath. Okay. When we are born into this world, we start our day, start our life with a breath. And our day, of course, in the morning. We start our year in spring. Okay. But there are so many things going on, especially with modern days. How are we going to plan for it? How are we going to live our life every day? Okay. So among the 4 points, the first one is always starting from the morning. Okay. plans for the day in the morning. Having plans and goals, we ensure that the day will not be wasted. Okay. So just like many of you who are parents, or even if you're living by yourself, I know that you are very good planning in terms of like you start your day and then you have everything scheduled. Okay, what you're going to do, even the errands that you would like to go, and then even sometimes some of us might just map out, like if you want to go from one place to the other, how are we going to make full use of the whole round? Even like, so that we won't be like going from one place and then ended up in another place. Okay? If we don't plan, if we just do things like impromptu, or like we thought of one thing and then you drive out to Staples, buy a few packets of like papers and then drove back. Oh, I forgot to buy staples. So going back again, get some staples. And then, oh, okay, I need to go to the post office, and then go out again and come back again. So of course, like, we learn along the way. But if we don't plan out, sometimes we might be stressed out, because the time that we have every day is the same. Every one of us have 24 hours when we are on planet Earth. Unless you are in International Space Station, it'll be a different way of like calculating. Yeah. And of course, like when we are stressed out and then when we are not prepared in dealing with the matters, sometimes we might forget things. Okay, if we don't write it down, okay, when we are doing certain things, we might tend to forget the things that we need to do. And even sometimes when we already have it in the back of our head, walk down the corridor and then we stop in the middle and say, what were I about to go? What am I supposed to, get? Like, especially, sometimes when you open up the refrigerator, at first, before opening up, you already have something in mind. But once you look at everything in the refrigerator, we might forget what we want to take out from the refrigerator. Okay. Even though planning is not like something huge, like, within the life, every day, starting from the morning, okay, we have listed out all the things. Yeah. And then the question that we ask ourselves, sometimes that we don't really, look into it, is what do you do the moment that you wake up? What do we do?
Think about what you're gonna
Think about what you do today. a good start. Okay. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So it depends on how details I want to go into it. Like, the first thing will be, if we have set up alarm, then it will be like turning off the alarm. Yeah. So this is a question that we ask ourselves so that we can bring our attention to the present. Okay. Because sometimes habits help us a lot. Like we don't really have to, worry about something. Okay, the habits just flow from waking up. Okay, turn off the alarm, sitting upright, stretch, and then the next thing is going to the restroom, and then do whatever that we need to do, washing, and then use the anyway. But then sometimes, like, if our mind is not there, okay, sometimes we might lose track of what we want to do. And sometimes even when we have it all planned out, even with a plan, sometimes we might also forget something. Okay, so there are many ways for us to keep track of what we plan for a day. Okay, and morning is always a good start because we wake up with a fresh mind and a good start. Okay, so looking at ourselves, and does anyone have a question about how about the Buddha? So how does the Buddha start a day? Or what did the Buddha do every day? Anyone have this question?
meditate.
Meditation is one of the main practices, but besides meditation, this is a whole list of the time frame of the Buddha's 24 hours. Okay. So in the morning session, there's five sections. The first one is in the morning, the second one in the afternoon, the third one is between 6 to 10 p.m. It's like in the evening. And then the fourth part is the middle watch, meaning that it's already at wee hours between 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. And then the last watch is between 2 to 6 a.m. So early in the morning, the Buddha is constantly in a meditative state. Okay, it's not like the Buddha will enter into meditative concentration or exiting. 24/7, the Buddha's mind is present, being mindful at all times. Okay, so in the very early in the morning, the Buddha will survey the wall, okay, with his Buddha eye, divine eye, and see whatever help that is needed. Anyone needs any advice or spiritual guidance, the Buddha will be there. Okay, and he usually travel on foot, walk. Okay, and later on, like before afternoon, the Buddha and the whole Sangha, they will also go for alms round. Okay, yeah, going from one house to the other, receive offering from the villagers, from everyone. Okay, without speaking a word, without uttering a word during the whole alms round. Okay, and then after receiving the offering, they will go back to where they were, and then they start having mindful lunch, even though it's before noon. Okay, and then after that, the Buddha will share a very short discourse, teaching to the disciples, including whoever that is nearby, could be villagers, citizen, anyone. Okay, and then after that, after the noon meal, okay, he will take a seat, okay, and then the bhikkhu will come closer and closer and listen to his dharma. And now, of course, some of them will ask questions about meditation, about practices, and so on and so forth. And then after that, everyone will, split up. Okay, you can go and find shady place, do your meditation, your practices. Everyone split up, and then for the Buddha, he will have a siesta, a short siesta, a mindful siesta. Okay, so he will lay to his right side and sleep for a while with mindfulness, and then towards the evening, okay, between 6 to 10, okay, he will continue talking, sharing the teachings for about an hour. Okay, and after that, the bhikkhus will continue with their own practices. And of course, like during that time, there will be like question and answers. The bhikkhus or anyone have any questions will always ask the Buddha. Okay, and then of course, like later, like between 10 to 2 a.m. Okay, that is when the Buddha shared the Dharma to non-human celestial beings, the divine beings. Okay, so and then during that time, the Buddha will also have an hour of walking meditation. Okay, and only between, you might be asking, the Buddha didn't sleep at night. The Buddha did sleep between 3 to 4 a.m. Okay, between 3 to 4. And then between 4 to 5 is the Buddha enters into what they call nirvana sleep, where the mind has gone beyond non-perception and perception realm, okay, in a deeper meditative state. And then between 5 to 6, the Buddha contemplates on loving kindness and compassion towards all beings, not only humans, but also to people from beings from different realms. Okay, and then that's about the whole day of what the Buddha did. Okay, make full use of the 24 hours. Yeah, but then again, when the Buddha give a teaching or clean up the quarters or mindful eating, at all times the Buddha did it mindfully. Even when the moment that he took a rest, sleeping, he's also fully aware that he's sleeping. Okay, and then besides having a few hours of resting, the rest of his time is always be of service, helping, sharing the teaching, sharing the Dharma to whoever is there. Okay. So this is just a little bit sharing. And the next question that you might have, how about me? What do I do every day at the temple? Yeah, so yeah, we are not like the Buddha. We have slightly longer hours of sleep.
Yeah.
But basically, a day in a temple life, we all have 5 daily practices. Um, we have morning and evening chanting. That is our practices. And then breakfast is also one of the 5 practices. And also, like sometimes we have like noon where we have mindful eating, lunch, as well as medicinal meal, which is dinner. And we call it medicinal meal is because we take whatever food that is sufficient to nourish our physical body at night. Okay, it's just like medicine. It's like not the whole lot of like a huge feast. Usually no, because at night we usually don't have a lot of activities. We will have more time for our own practice, meditation, reading the sutras, reading the books, getting ready for what I would like to share with you. And of course, throughout the day, besides the 5 daily practices, okay, every day we clean the environment. We also have people coming in and out, replying email, doing administrative of the temple, making arrangements of the classes. Yeah, many different things. And sometimes like we have to go to hospital, like they give like some care to those who are in need. Not only hospitals, like nursing homes, and sometimes we also need to preside over funeral services, sometimes Buddhist marriages. So there are different ways for us to be of service to our community. Okay, a little bit more, I wouldn't say complex, but a little bit more variety as compared with 2,600 years ago during the Buddha's time, because things are way straightforward, more straightforward. And sometimes I also need to spend some time, do some posting on Facebook. I need some time to post on Instagram. I need to, make sure that the flyers is posted up there and also distributed so that everyone will be more aware of what we have. Okay, and of course, like thanks to the help from volunteers that take a lot of burden and also responsibilities from us so that we can make full use of all the resources that we have in to give return to the community in terms of education, in terms of like community services, and so on and so forth. Okay, so and of course, like in the picture that you see, the big gong there, that is also one of the instruments that we use. We start our day. Sometimes you might listen to the sound of the drum and the gong. Okay, especially in traditional temples. Like maybe by the end of the year in October, you have the opportunity to visit Fu Guangshan. Okay, you'll be able to, when you wake up like 5:30 in the morning, you hear the sound of the bell, the gong. You hear gong, and then after the gong, you hear the drum. Okay, so the traditional temples, we always go with the drum, the gongs, the board, the sound of the board, gong, gong, and other signaling. Okay, because we don't need watch. We just listen to the signals. And then not only that, after listening to the signals, we will know what we are going to do. Okay, and plus, we live as a huge community. It's not just by myself. There are a few hundreds of us, even more. So we will be doing the same thing at the same time. If it is time for breakfast, you see that whole 1,000 people sitting in the dining hall, doing mindful eating. And then when it comes to cleaning our environment, because we have a huge place, so you might be sweeping floor here. Some is like washing in the kitchen. Some is like doing dishes. Many different things. Okay. So, but basically in the traditional temple settings, things are slightly different, okay, than the temples in the urban area, in the cities. Okay. So here we do not have the drum and bell. We do not have the big gong. Imagine if I were to sound a big gong, what will happen? And then we might receive phone calls saying, hey, can you lower the volume? Yeah, but it's a different settings, different ways. But I just want to take this opportunity to share with you everyone like how we plan our day and how the Buddha did his everyday routine. Okay. And then let us look at today. Okay. So this is a diagram that was shared by the World Health Organization. And this data was released after doing a survey for 2019, which is not too long ago. And this is based on the lifespan of 73.4 years old, our average global lifespan. Okay. And then if you were to add up all this, of course, it won't give you the number 73.4 years old, because in this chart here, it's mainly focusing on the modern days people, where we spend a lot of time using social media. Okay, of course, sleep time is always roughly about a third of our life. Okay, because out of 24 hours, sometimes we sleep like 6 hours, 7 hours, or 8 hours. It's basically a third of our lifetime. Okay, and besides that, talking about people using social media, on average, based on this average time, the survey give a data saying that many of the global population today, 8 billion people, 8 billion people of us on average start using social media at the age of 10 years old. And then the average time that we spend, okay, is about 3.4 million minutes throughout our whole life, which is equivalent to almost 7 years, like 6 years and 8 months. Just only social media. It does not include watching TV. Does not include like shopping, or even shopping, meaning like nowadays it's mostly like online shopping, e-commerce. Okay, but this is just to give us an idea of how much time that we spend in our life that we focus on social media. And then on average, we check our phone a day. Do you know how many times we check our phone? On average, 58 times. It's about 60 times, which is, well, to some people, this is just an average, it doesn't mean that every one of us check like 60 times. Yeah, but this is the data based on the World Health Organization, which is 58 times per day is equivalent to 3 hours and 15 minutes a day out of 24 hours, which means that we use 1/8 of our day on the phone. Okay. So again, this is not equivalent to every one of us, but just to share with the majority of us, like the data that is available. And of course, like the trend, right now we have about 4 billion people, which is half of the global population that is using social media. Half of the population, which means there's still half of population that don't use social media. Yeah, but in 2 years, that will increase another 0.5 billion number of people using social media. Yeah, but of course, like it doesn't mean that social media is good or bad. It is not indicating anything about that. But it's just to raise our awareness that how much time that we spend on certain things. Okay? And the second point that we'd like to share with everyone is plan everything, start with having a clear mind. The first one is in the morning. The next thing is having a clear mind. Okay. So what does it mean about clear mind? Okay. Sometimes when we have many things going on the day before, and even when we go to bed, sometimes it's not like really sleeping, and sometimes like we have this and that, the monkey mind. This is not clear mind. Okay, so the question that we ask ourselves is our mind clear today or not? Okay, because others will not have the answer for us. This is a question that we ask ourselves. Okay, is our mind clear today? Because for us to start our day or even plan for a journey, a task, and activities, we have to make sure that our mind is clear. Okay, having not only having a good plan, but our mind has to be clear so that we'll be aware of what we're doing. Okay, so in the book, Verbal Master also emphasized having a clear mind is a mind without delusion or ignorance. Okay, having delusion or ignorance is referring to the mental state which causes us to see things as they are. Okay, so this further define what is a clear mind. Okay, sometimes when we are in a hurry, okay, not only we have difficulties in catching our breath, right, in a hurry or doing things, sometimes we might have the tendency of dropping things, because we're a little bit nervous, we're a little bit, um, in a hurry, we want to get things done. But even like trying to use a key to open the door, sometimes we might shiver a little bit because of the rush in our mind. Okay. And of course, not only that, sometimes when we have some emotion within our mind, that is also not clear. We will be misguided by our emotion. Okay. So let me share with you. Um, so it really depends on what we feed our mind. Okay. So let me share with you a real life story. I'm not sure if everyone still remember what happened back in 2009. Okay, that was a flight, Air France 447 is about to depart from Sao Paulo, Brazil, and then heading to Paris. Okay, flying over to Paris, and of course they have one pilot and two co-pilots. Okay, and then when the plane departed, everything went smoothly. Everything goes as planned. And then the plane was on autopilot mode, okay, smooth sailing for about like 4 hours and so. And then all of a sudden, the autopilot turned off. The plane autopilot turned off, okay. And then the co-pilot was like, being in the cabin. The captain went to sleep because it's an overnight flight. They have to take turns. So the co-pilot feel a little bit anxious because the autopilot turned off. And one of the reasons why it turned off is because of the parts that you see right in front of the airplane. I'm not so sure what does it call, but that measure the airspeed of a plane and also the altitude of how high the plane is. So when it flew for some time over what do you call that, the line between the northern hemisphere and the southern hemisphere, the equator. Okay, because the air was so cold and the sensor got frozen. And then once the sensor got frozen, it lost the sense of like how high it is and how fast it is. And then it immediately will turn off the autopilot so that the captain or the pilot can fully manage flying the plane. But of course, this co-pilot, he caught off guard. And then he feel anxious a little bit because he has to, be full control of the plane. And then because his mind didn't plan all this, he didn't drill like this will happen, as part of the training or even before flying the plane. He didn't prepare for this. Okay. So that's another co-pilot sitting next to him saying that, are you okay? Do you want me to help? And then he said, oh, I'm fine, I'm fine. But then he's not aware because of his panic. He was panicking. His hand was like holding the, what do you call it, the joystick or the controller, he was the stick. Yeah, he was like holding slightly, pull a little bit back. Okay, so what does it mean? So which means that the plane is actually, the nose is tilted up. It's like flying up. But in that high altitude, 37,000 feet, I think, high, okay, the plane should be, flat, like, flying straight. But because of his nervousness, he accidentally pulled back a little bit the control, so the plane is like flying up a little bit. But in that high altitude, if you apply physics, you know that the air was very thin. If you were to tilt it up, there's a possibility of the plane stalled, fall. And of course, the sensor were not working, so they will know the altitude. Okay, so this only a matter of within 4 minutes, only 4 minutes. Yeah, and then like there was like an alarm saying that stall, stall, stall. The machine is like trying to say that. But long story short, this co-pilot, because his mind wasn't clear, his mind was like filled with panic and anxious. Okay, he didn't aware that his physical reaction towards that. And then when the captain returned to the cabin, it was already too late. And even the moment that they saw the Pacific Ocean, the co-pilot still didn't know what happened. Yeah. But of course, like in a different occasion, a year after, the same thing that happened. I'm not just trying to scare everyone. I'm just like sharing with you like the story of how our mind can influence our decision, our reaction, our physical, reaction to a certain situation. Sometimes we don't even aware of it. A year after, okay, all the pilots were drilled, even the captain being very responsibility, brief the co-pilot saying that, okay, if A were happen, what should you do? If B were to happen, what should you do? If C, different scenarios. Okay, go through all the procedures, all the standard procedures. Let's go. And then the plane took off from Singapore, and then not too long after departing from Singapore Changi Airport, okay, the one of the 4 main engine started fire, exploded, and then because of the explosion, the blast hit on some of the wings, so there's some like some damage to it. But because of the clear mind that all the pilots have, even with as many alarms that were like over 80 warnings saying that this is failing, that is failing, that is failing, but the captain is very sturdy, and he said, don't look at all the warning lights, just focus on what is functioning, just focus on what is still working, and take control of whatever that is working. Okay, and by the end, they managed to turn back and landed safely in Singapore airport. Okay, and then this is in the history that this is a heavily damaged super jumbo jet that can safely land on the airport. Okay. So pilots, not only pilots, it could be any one of us taking care of many tasks. Some of us like in charge of construction, engineering. There are many crucial parts that we do every day. So it's very important for us to have a very clear mind, because when things happen, sometimes we just flow with our emotion unknowingly. Okay, so this is the second point. And the third one is talking about family. Okay, plans for a family start with peace and harmony. Okay, so we always talk about peace, and then we know that even a harmonious family fosters everything. And the peace and harmony of the family really directly affects one's spiritual and mental development. Okay, even at a very young age, since baby. Okay, if a baby experience uh, trauma at a young age, this trauma will be within the child throughout one's lifetime. Okay, but then if this baby, this child, were being given all the um, positive wordings, positive language, and caring and love from the parents, living in a parents where it's always in harmony instead of like conflict or arguing, shouting. This child will be grow up in a very harmonious, not only family, but when one grow up facing the society, like that will continue on the positive energy from the child to the family to the society to the community. Okay. So when it comes to peace and harmony, of course, like there'll be like internal peace as well as external peace. Okay. External peace is something that we try to promote, we try to foster, but sometimes it's beyond our control. But what we can start and manage with is the internal peace, starting from ourselves, starting from our mind. Okay. And then within a family, okay, family harmony at home. Sometimes like there's a story that talking about two different families. One family is all with all the good people, quote unquote, good people in the family. And another family, it comprises all the bad people in a family. So what does it mean? So this family of all the good people, from the parents to the kids, okay? So whenever something happened, okay, like for example, a glass of water being accidentally knocked down and spilled. And this family of good people is saying that, oh, I'm not the one who did that. It's someone else who knocked out this glass of water. And then if someone were to accidentally step on the water, and then the other family members would say, oh, that's not my fault. It was him who accidentally knocked on it and I stepped on the floor, the wetness of the floor. And then eventually this family of good people ended up arguing and pinpointing others' fault because they always think that I am the good people. It's not my fault. It's your fault. Okay, so it ended up like arguing all the time. But in another family with all the bad people, is quote unquote bad people, doesn't mean that they are really bad. So the same example, a glass of water being knocked down the floor, and then here comes mother saying that, oh, I'm so sorry, I shouldn't put this glass of water too close to the edge of the table. It was my fault. Sorry. And then here comes the little brother came and say, oh, I forgot to finish the water in the glass. It was my fault. Okay. And then here comes the dad saying that, oh, that is my fault. I was the one who brought the glass into the kitchen in the first place. It was my fault. And then the whole family ended up like, laughing. And then, things can be completed and settled just like that. Because we learn how to be understanding. We learn how to stand on others' shoe. Okay. So it's just an example of how we try to create a harmonious environment within our family, because it is very important, because if a member in our family feel loved and care in the family, when we face everything in the workplace, in a society, that person will continue to be loving and kind to other people. And if a person have a very traumatic family, being scolded or abused, when this person grow up, it will share that energy to and do harm to the society. So it's a butterfly effect, okay? And then the last point that I would like to share with you is plans for a lifetime start with diligence, okay? I know that sometimes we say that, oh, okay, tomorrow is another day. It's like Isaac Newton said that if you want to acquire knowledge, food, and happiness, you must work hard because diligence is the cardinal rule for gaining everything. So even we don't have, some of us might have like great ambition. Okay, if we just dream about it without putting like the hard work, it won't happen. Okay? It's just like, some of us really like cooking, and I'm looking at the cookbooks. Oh wow, this is like so delicious. Looking at all the pictures, but just like savoring from the cookbook without preparing the ingredients and cooking in the kitchen, it's impossible. Okay, so and the Buddha reminded us, saying that don't let laziness lead one's life pass in vain and without achievements. Okay, just like the statistic that I shared with you, we have already spent a third of our lifetime resting and sleeping, which is a need. It is necessary for us to, rejuvenate our physical body so that we will start a day with fresh mind, clear mind, and with whatever that we can do. But of course, this is not talking about sleeping. This is talking about laziness. Sometimes we might have a thought saying that, okay, like this one here. I'll work on my procrastination problem first thing in the morning, first thing tomorrow. Okay, yeah. Most of us, sometimes like we might think that that's always a tomorrow. Is it really that's tomorrow? Okay, just like what I shared before, how long is our life in this lifetime? Even though the average lifespan is 73 years old, but then not every one of us lives that long. Okay, our life is a matter of one breath. Okay, so sometimes we might think that, okay, tomorrow. But then of course, like if we are physically very tired, like not enough time to finish today, we'll write it down, have it in the to-do list. That's okay. Okay, the laziness here is not like, it is more of like we can do it today, but we put it off. That is laziness. Okay, sometimes we might get used to laziness too. Okay, and I always like think of the parable. It's just like a fan. Right? Nowadays it's winter here. You don't need a fan, but turning the fan, the first thing when you press turn on, it will take more energy to start the fan. Okay, it might be hard to start, but once the fan starts turning, does it need a lot of power to continue turning? It just needs a little very minimum energy to continue the turn. It's just like between laziness and diligence. Sometimes we are so used to laziness, and one day we wake up. I need to work hard. I need to be diligent, and that transition might be hard. It's just like turning on the fan. But once we are on track, the track of right diligence, we will just smooth. We just go ahead. It just flow with our motivation. How do we solve on the Buddhas constantly, which is dependent origination, okay? Because if we contemplate on how everything arises because of the right causes and condition, we will cherish that moment more, because we know that one day, if one of the causes and condition changes, things will not be there. Okay. By contemplating on dependent origination, we will not take for granted the things that we have. We will not take for granted with the air that we breathe in. We will cherish every moment. So if we can cherish every single moment, of course, we will be diligent in our practices, in whatever that we need to do every day. So conclusion, a quick recap of the 4 points is the first one is plan for the day. We start in the morning, okay? We plan for everything by having a clear mind. And the third one, plans for the family, start with peace and harmony. The fourth one, plans for a lifetime, start with diligence. Okay, from day to everything, to a family, to a lifetime. We must know how to plan our life well, from a day, a month, a year to a lifetime. When we focus on being present, our focus on the current causes and conditions, it can help us take steps in knowing what will come next. And always remember, time and tides wait for no person, no man, but person in general. Okay, so before we look into Q&A, I have listed out a few questions for everyone to contemplate. I'll post it on the Google Classroom after the class. But these are the questions that we can think about it. The first one is, how do you live your life every day? How do I live my life every day? What should I do to foster peace within myself, at work, at home? Okay. Remember, gentleness, understanding, respect. What do we feed our mind? Okay. And the last question that we ask ourselves, how do we have a clear mind? We try to find out the ways. How do we keep our mind clear every day at all times? Okay. So these are the few things that I would like to share with everyone. Okay. So this is our first class, and I hope that whatever that I share with you is, resonate with what you would like to hear. If you have any questions or comments, now is the time. You can unmute yourself, and those who are here, you don't have to unmute yourself, but you can sit in front of the computer to share with everyone, so that those online can also hear what you would like to share. Let me check the chat box here first. Yeah. Okay, I'm not so sure, but okay. Or anyone online or anyone here would like to share, you can. Yes. Yeah, anyone? Wow.
Can you hear me?
Okay. Hold on. Yeah. Elaine. Would you have one in person? Yeah, Jordan, can you be?
Yeah, of course. Okay, super.
Sorry, Elaine. Can you? I cannot hear you. Can you hold on for a second? Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Is that better?
With what do we feed our mind? That's something that I've been thinking about personally for the last couple of weeks. It was something that I read in a book, because one thing that it mentioned that I had never really thought about before was what we feed our mind as far as music and television is concerned. And we don't think about how big of an impact what we're viewing or what we're listening is having on us. Even if we don't take any notice of it, it's imprinting on our mind, and those imprints turn into thoughts, and those thoughts turn into actions. So that's something that I've been working on that I wanted to comment on, was being mindful about what we're feeding our mind as far as what we're exposing ourselves to on a regular basis.
Yeah, thank you, Jordan, for sharing. Yeah, so if everyone still remember, like the consciousness in our mind, it's just like, what seed do we plant in our mind, right? It could be, Jordan raised a very good point. Like when we watch TV, when we read the news, when we see everything, is absorbed into our consciousness. It's within our mind. Okay, and then this is also one of the questions that we have to ask ourselves: what do we feed our mind? Because everything that we feed into our mind will always be there. It planted the seed. Okay, not only this lifetime, we will continue on remembering what we have done in the past. When the conditions are right, the seed will germinate, and then we will pop out and then know, oh, I've done that before. Yeah. Okay, thank you. So, Elaine?
Well, maybe I could ask you after
Oh,
class.
I think Elaine wants to.
Can you hear me?
How come I cannot hear her?
Can you hear me or no? Sometimes it's not very loud, but if you tell me. So I was confused about the good family and the bad family you were talking about. Because the first family I thought was, well, called the good family, but the bad family was the one where everyone took responsibility for the glass filling. So to me, that was trying to engender peace in the family. They said, oh, it's not your fault. It's not your fault. It's not your fault. It's not your fault. It's kind of like it's everybody's fault. So to me, that was better than the other family. Or maybe I misunderstood you.
Yeah, the good and the good and bad is just quote unquote. It's not the good and the good and the bad.
Not so black and
Yeah,
white.
it's just a way of like saying like, you know, I'm the good person. I'm the so-called good. But the person just thought that one is good person, but it's like pointing fingers at others.
Oh, yeah, I understand.
So
Okay,
that clarifies it.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Lynn. Okay, and then Alfred, can you turn on?
你好. Mei Zhang, can you hear me? I guess not. You can? Oh, I just wanted to say thank you so much for all the work you put into this presentation. I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed your clarity. I enjoyed your PowerPoint, and you fed my mind with some very good information. And I thoroughly enjoyed your class, and I look forward to taking more classes with you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Alfred. Okay. So so if we do not have any more questions, let me share with everyone back to this slide. Okay, announcements. Okay, so on the coming Friday, March 17, we have Thank Buddha is Friday, as once a month lecture. And we will resume in person, as well as we will continue to provide online access to those of you who cannot come here. The topic will be where is the mind? It's not me who is going to talk about this. We have invited Verbal Huizhe from Shilai Temple. He'll be coming here in person to share with everyone where is the mind. So I will again share with you the RSVP, so that because 6:30 we have meditation, and 7 p.m. we're going to provide you a light dinner, medicinal meal. And then between 7:30 to 8:30 in the evening, we're going to have the lecture here. Okay, it's just like for those of you who joined us before for the TBIF, it will be the same flow. Okay, for those of you who join me online, it will be 7:30 to 8:30 Pacific time. Okay, and then next week for our classes, we're going to look into managing ourselves from the mind. Everything is talking about the mind. And the page number, you always refer to the syllabus, because I'll pick a few articles from the book and then summarize it and share with some of the points I would like to highlight. Okay, so let us join our palms as we dedicate merit. May kindness, compassion, joy, and equanimity pervade all worlds. May we cherish and build affinities to benefit all beings. May Chan, Yolan, and Precept inspire equality and patience. May our humility and gratitude give rise to great vows. So I hope that everyone have a great week and be safe, be healthy, and all the best. I'll see you next week.
Thank you.
Thank you.